Imagine discovering a mountain so rich in silver that people believed it could make an empire wealthy forever. Spain believed it had found exactly that. Instead, it had discovered the beginning of its own collapse. When the first miners struck silver inside Cerro Rico, they realized this was unlike anything Europe had ever seen. The mountain seemed almost limitless, and news of its riches spread across the Spanish Empire like wildfire. Almost overnight, Potosí became one of the largest cities on Earth. Hundreds of thousands of people arrived hoping to share in the unimaginable wealth pouring from a single mountain. Behind every bar of silver stood countless lives. Indigenous workers were forced into dangerous labor, spending endless hours underground where many would never see daylight again. Once extracted, the silver began an incredible journey across mountains, deserts, and oceans. Every shipment carried fortunes beyond imagination, all destined for the Spanish crown. The raw silver was transformed into coins recognized across the world. Spanish silver became the international currency of its age, accepted from Europe to Asia. Every year, fleets of heavily armed treasure ships crossed the Atlantic carrying enough silver to finance wars, build palaces, and reshape the global economy. Spain appeared unstoppable. With endless silver flowing into Madrid, Spain believed its wealth had no limits. The empire expanded across continents, convinced that the mountain would continue paying every bill forever. Spanish silver spread across Europe faster than anyone had imagined. Markets flourished, merchants celebrated, and wealth seemed to multiply without end. Instead of investing their fortune into farms, factories, and industries, much of Spain's elite spent their silver on imported luxury. Wealth was consumed far faster than it was created. While Spain bought luxury goods, other countries built industries. The Netherlands produced textiles, Italy manufactured fine goods, and foreign merchants became richer with Spanish money. Silver made imports cheaper than domestic production. Slowly, Spanish craftsmen disappeared. The empire was becoming dependent on everyone except itself. Then something unexpected happened. Prices across Europe began rising. The more silver entered circulation, the less valuable every coin became. People owned more money than ever before, yet they could buy less with it. Wealth was increasing on paper while purchasing power quietly disappeared. Instead of solving economic problems, Spain spent even more silver financing endless wars. Military victories became more important than building a sustainable economy. Every campaign consumed mountains of silver. Soldiers had to be paid, weapons purchased, supplies transported, and new armies constantly recruited. Eventually, even Spain's endless silver was no longer enough. The crown began borrowing heavily from foreign bankers, using future silver shipments as collateral. The empire that possessed the world's richest silver mines was drowning in debt. Wealth continued arriving, but it disappeared almost as quickly as it came. In 1557, Spain shocked Europe by declaring bankruptcy. The richest empire on earth could no longer pay its debts. Bankers who had trusted Spain suddenly realized that mountains of silver did not guarantee financial stability. Confidence began to disappear. It wasn't a one-time disaster. Spain declared bankruptcy again and again, proving that endless natural wealth could not fix a broken economy. While Spain struggled, the Dutch Republic was rising. Instead of relying on mines, it built prosperity through trade, manufacturing, and finance. England followed a similar path. Wealth came from industry, innovation, and commerce, not from discovering mountains of precious metal. One nation exported silver, others exported products, technology, and ideas. In the long run, productive economies always proved stronger than resource-dependent ones. Eventually, even Cerro Rico began showing signs of exhaustion. The mountain still produced silver, but never with the same abundance as before. As production slowed, Potosi gradually lost the importance that had once made it one of the greatest cities in the world. The treasure that had once seemed endless slowly disappeared, leaving behind debts, inflation, and an economy that had never learned to stand on its own. Silver had created the illusion of permanent prosperity, but real wealth had never been buried inside the mountain. It had always depended on what a nation chose to build. Spain's silver didn't stay in Spain. It flowed across Europe and eventually reached nearly every major trading empire, financing economies far beyond the kingdom that had mined it. Much of that silver eventually reached China, where demand was enormous. Spanish treasure had quietly become the foundation of the world's first truly global trading system. For the first time in history, a single resource connected 4 continents. Silver became the engine of globalization centuries before the modern world existed. The flood of silver increased the money supply faster than production could keep up. More coins chased the same goods, and prices continued climbing. For ordinary people, inflation wasn't an economic theory. It meant paying more every week for food, clothing, and the necessities of everyday life. As imports became easier to buy, local industries slowly disappeared. Spain was consuming wealth instead of creating it. While Spanish silver financed foreign industries, those industries became powerful enough to surpass Spain itself. By the time leaders recognized the problem, the damage had already spread throughout the empire. Silver alone could no longer save Spain. The empire wasn't collapsing because it lacked resources. It was collapsing because it had built its future on resources alone. Cerro Rico still stands today, a silent reminder that even the richest mountain in history could not guarantee lasting prosperity. Today, Cerro Rico remains one of history's greatest symbols of wealth. Yet its greatest lesson has nothing to do with silver itself. Natural resources can create opportunity, but they cannot replace productivity, education, innovation, or strong institutions. Those are the foundations of lasting prosperity. Today's richest nations are rarely those with the greatest natural resources. They are the ones that continuously create value through knowledge, technology, and production. A treasure chest eventually becomes empty. A productive economy can continue creating wealth for generations. History repeatedly teaches the same lesson. Wealth that is simply extracted eventually disappears. Wealth that is created continues to grow. The story of Spanish silver was never just Spain's story. It reshaped global trade, connected continents, and transformed the world economy forever. Every surviving silver coin tells 2 stories. One is about extraordinary wealth. The other is about extraordinary mistakes. The miners disappeared. The treasure fleets vanished. The empire faded. But the mountain remained, silently preserving its warning for future generations. Spain did not lose its empire overnight. It slowly weakened while believing that yesterday's wealth would always solve tomorrow's problems. Centuries later, economists still study Spain's experience because it remains one of history's clearest examples of how easy wealth can become a dangerous illusion. The true wealth of a nation is never measured by the resources beneath its soil. It is measured by the value its people create every single day. The world has changed dramatically since the age of Spanish treasure fleets, yet the economic principles that determined Spain's fate remain exactly the same. Today, successful economies invest in innovation instead of relying on luck. Sustainable prosperity is built through knowledge, productivity, and constant adaptation. Cerro Rico was more than a mountain. It became one of history's greatest economic experiments, proving that unlimited wealth can still produce limited results. One small coin reminds us of an extraordinary truth. History's greatest fortunes often carry the seeds of their own destruction. The mountain never promised to make Spain powerful forever. That promise existed only in the imagination of those who believed wealth alone could replace hard work and innovation. Spain did not collapse because it ran out of silver. It collapsed because silver replaced productivity. In the end, the richest mountain in history left behind the world's most valuable economic lesson.